stretch of time where you're discouraged by the way you play or because of injury, what would you say to an athlete that's going through that experience right now? Whoever wants to take it.
Everybody can just kick it on. I always felt that if I was in a slump, the best thing to do would be the first guy to arrive at practice, be the first guy on the ice, and work my way out of it. You know, hard work has always been a staple. You know, when I was a kid, I grew up on the prairies in Manitoba, and I saw people get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and work till 10 o'clock at night, and they all had one thing in common: they were all very highly successful people. So from an early age, I learned that hard work could overcome a lot of obstacles in my way. And, you know, for example, if I hadn't scored in, 5 or 6 games, I would make sure that I was on the ice either with a coach or failed pucks. And I would shoot as many pucks as I could before, so that when the game happened, I wouldn't have to think about where I'm shooting. I would just be able to get the puck and put it in a spot where I knew that I could beat the goalie. So I think that, the harder you work, the less likely you are to go through periods of time when you have a slump or you go through something that's difficult. My philosophy, or what I've always tried to do, is to work myself through all those times when I was lacking confidence.
Just to add, and then you guys can talk to too. Early in my career, our owner set us up with a guy, and he did 3 6-hour sessions, and it was called The Power of Positive Thinking. And at the time, I was 18 years old, and I wasn't quite interested in it. And of course, we were shooting spitballs at each other in the face while this was going on. But the one thing that I took out of it was good self-talk. And I think it's important here that it's okay to be disappointed if you don't do well. But what gets you through it there, in my experiences, was good self-talk and getting 3 phrases for yourself. I can do this. I'm a great player. I belong here. I'm a winner. Whatever 3 phrases that you can think of that will suit you well. And when you get in a situation there where you failed or you didn't do as well as you expected, then you remind yourself that you're good enough, you're a good player, you belong here, and you can do it, and you're a winner. And that gets you set back on course again. Because you are going to fail. You are not going to play your best. But in order to get back to where you need to be, you have to have good self-talk. And I often hear these players, even at the pro level, with terrible self-talk. I suck. I can't do this. I'm no good. I'm a loser. You know what I mean? And so you're just, recreating those negative thoughts. You have to have good, positive thoughts. And those 3 triggers are very, very important. So every time you get into a situation like I don't know if you are or anybody else is, but when you need to really figure out what will set you back on, whether, it can be your own. You don't need to tell anybody what those are, but you need to have 3 or 4 real simple triggers that are positive, that will remind you of that, the hard work that you're putting in. You're good enough to do this. You can do it, or whatever they are, and that will get you back on track.
A good example of that, we were in first place overall by, 10 or 20 points. And the best team, we got Sports Illustrated. We went into Hartford. It was the dead last team. And they beat us 11-0. 11-0. Remember that? That was great. These guys were terrible. But to Mark's point, you know what? We knew we were good team. We knew we were good players. We knew we were winners. And we knew if we just worked hard, to Theo's point, just keep working hard and you'll get out of it. It's just a slump there. Don't get down on yourself. Just be positive. It'll turn around before you know it.
If you can remember these points, when I can still think back to being kind of a teenager. I'm not sure I can remember being 10 or 11 or 12, but certainly late teens. And when I think now about different people who I ran into. And my recollection is I should have listened more closely. And so what Mark's saying, what Theo's saying, what Dave said, if you can remember something that causes you to think about positive self-talk, think about not giving up and working hard, and carry that on, you'll be amazed how you'll look back at this time and say, you know what, I remember I saw those guys, can't remember their names, remember one or two, but there was a point that came and it's made a difference to me. If you can figure that out sooner rather than later, you will be better served. As far as the injury question would go, I would go a little different direction. I would say, figure out how you got injured and make sure you don't get injured again. I had a guy, when I first came to Calgary, down McNeil, called Joel here a couple of hours ago, we were in truck together. He was my first coach. And he also was the guy who brought conditioning to the Calgary Flames in 1980. He was ahead of his time in saying you need to look after your body. He told me when I first got drafted, he said, Jim, he said, you've come to a team that has got more characters than character. If you want to play in the National Hockey League, look after your body, get yourself in shape, and he said, learn to protect yourself. Because he said, sticks are cheaper than teeth. Keep the lumber up. And he said, you will play in this game a long time. And
you know what? That's the exact same thing that Pep said to me when I first started.
seriously, I got the same speech. So, now you're gonna get hurt, but if you can figure out how to avoid getting hurt, and, that doesn't matter whether it's on the ice or in the swimming pool or driving a car. Here's a question for you. You're at a stoplight, right? Your light turns green, right? The other light turns red. And you drive through and a car hits you. Whose fault is it? It doesn't matter. You're dead, right? You need to look and say, just because that light's turned green, it doesn't mean that I'm going to blame it on the other guy because you're dead. So you need to figure out how not to get injured, how to protect yourself without being mean-spirited or anything else. And if you do that after you've been hurt, you'll find yourself a lot more healthy as you're